Well, welcome to the last tackle. What a weekend ahead. Two absolute crackers in the playoffs of the Betfred Super League, and we've got the women's grand final as well. I'm delighted to welcome to the studio on his 40th birthday. Doesn't look bad for 40, does he? Kev Brown and Paul Sculthorpe. Gents, thanks for coming in, especially on your birthday.
Thank you. No, it's no better place to spend it.
Yeah, if I'd have known I bought you a cake, but I didn't know.
I don't need any cake.
I was only just told. So, right, what a week we just had, Kev.
It's been amazing. It's you know, everyone expected it to be really good, the way the season had gone and the way, you know, the back end of the season went especially. But both games were sensational. The crowd, the atmosphere were brilliant. And the first one on Friday night, what a close contest it was. No tries in the first half. I was expecting the ball to be thrown around.
Is that where it went wrong for Salford? Only being 2-0 up when they were the better team in the first half.
They were dominant, weren't they? And I think, you know, if Paul Rowley has his time again, I think he'd probably chance his arm a little bit earlier than he did. I think Lee just hung on incredibly well for a longer period than he expected, and they run out of time. And with Edwin Ipape, he's a game changer. And the key moments in the game, that's often where, you know, in the big games, it's won, and Edwin Ipape were all over them key moments.
A quick word on Salford. You played for him. Finishing fourth, especially letting Brodie Croft and Andy Ackers go, finishing fourth is some achievement, because no one thought Salford had been in the playoffs this year. Yeah,
when the dust settles, I think they'll be relatively happy. Right now, they'll be gutted and really disappointed that they didn't, you know, achieve the next round of the playoffs. But I completely agree. The squad and Tyler Dupree as well obviously went halfway through the year to Wigan too. So they were decimated. They've rebuilt. They've been great to watch. They've been competitive every week. But there will be a bad taste in the mouth for a couple more weeks, I'm sure.
A winter of thinking for St Helens and rebuilding.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I spoke to Wello yesterday on the phone. I think it's already begun. You know, looking at obviously what went right and what went wrong. You know, there's some exciting signings coming in, but bitterly disappointed with the season this year. I mean, Saints to scraping at 6th anyway, and then obviously, you know, lose to Warrington 4th time this year is not acceptable really at a club like St Helens.
Right, let's just talk Man of Steel. So we've got the Steve Prescott MBE Man of Steel. These are the three that are going to the awards ceremony, which is at Leeds next week on Tuesday. And the nominations are Matt Duffy of Warrington Wolves, Mikey Lewis of Hull KR, and Mark Sneed of Salford. Right, so you've just learnt the three nominations. Your reaction? Yeah,
well, I think three were very worthy nominees. I think three major indicators for their three sides, and three sides who have obviously, you know, got in the top four. So clearly had a massive impact on their team, and you know, worthy candidates.
Yeah, three great players. I think when you look at what's not in there as well, and you know, Bevan French didn't even make the dream team. It's just
that'll be the injuries, though, won't it?
Yeah, the injuries and the quality of how Matt Duffy's gone. And if I was a betting man, I'd probably put it on Mark Sneed. Every time I've watched him, he's been the best player on the field by a country mile, and he's so important to Salford. And I just think the way he's done it in a team that, you know, doesn't get the chance to rest him and look after him. He's at the ripe age. I think he's 34 or 35 now. I think he deserves it.
I think with the way the Man of Steel voting throughout the year as well, probably likes a Sneed, because he's always going to pick up 3 points for Salford. He's such a key indicator for them and a key player. You know, whereas some of the other teams have so many high-profile players throughout them sides. But you look at, you know, Duffy and Mikey Lewis as well, and you know, you pick them two in your top three. So I think it's a fair draw, and yeah, look forward to the evening and see who wins.
Yeah, the Leeds Armouries on Tuesday night. We will be there for crowning the Steve Prescott MBE Man of Steel. Do you know the only man to do back-to-back Man of Steel?
Paul Sculthorpe.
Yes, he was, yes. 2001 and 2002, the only man to go back-to-back. So good luck to all three of them. All three of them have had big seasons, and of course, two of them have got huge playoffs to look forward to as well. Right, Coach of the Year's been announced as well, the nominees. And again, this will be announced on Tuesday night at the Royal Armouries in Leeds. Mike Eccles of London Broncos, Matt Peat of Wigan Warriors, Willie Peters of Hull KR, and Paul Rowley of Salford. Kev.
Yeah, all very good coaches. I think Sam Burgess, you could throw him in there as well. I think
Sam's a little bit unlucky not to be in that form. Challenge Cup final.
Yeah, and he's changed the feeling of the club, hasn't he, in his first year? But you can't argue. I think Mike Eccles is the one for me that I'm so happy to see in there. He's done it so tough this year with the budget they've had. Because
so there's been a lot of raised eyebrows about Mike Eccles in here. So you think it's a good thing?
I think it's a great thing, and I think if you put a lot of coaches in that position, I don't think they get any wins. I think the way that he's kept his team together, the way he's kept that morale going, and the character to keep turning out performances and get wins, everyone wrote them off because before the year the door was shut on them, so they didn't invest in the squad. It was a part-time squad doing its best in Super League, and I think Mike's done a great job. I
think to watch the way the Broncos have played, how they actually play the game, you know, he's clearly got a massive influence on that group of players. As Kev said, you know, the group of players, it's not as strong as anybody else in Super League. But the way he made them play, and obviously to get the wins and challenge, you know, to not finish bottom of the pile, I think he's done an excellent job.
Right, let's just talk about the two eliminators that have just gone. So we touched on it. So right then, Salford Lee. Look, I think over the 80 minutes, Lee deserved it. I think, like you said, Salford will be a bit disappointed and probably thinking maybe if we'd have done this, done that.
Yeah, and it's really easy, isn't it, in hindsight? But I think the fact that everyone went to the game expecting it to be an entertainment of attacking play, it was still very, very entertaining. But it was more brutal. It was much more the physical aspect of the game that was real entertaining. I was expecting Salford to pull the trigger a little bit earlier, and they didn't do that. They had so much dominance in the first half. I think they went in 2-0. And
that's all it was, yeah. It should have been more.
They should have been 2 or 3 tries ahead there, and there was always that danger. And when the game got going into the last sort of 20 minutes or so, Edwin Ipape just went to another level.
How good is he?
He's terrific. He's terrific as a 9. You know, I think he's probably the best 9 in the competition, and I know he didn't get into the dream team, but he's missed a fair bit. But when he moved to loose forward, you could arguably say he's the best loose forward in the comp as well. He's that good.
We've just touched on Coach of the Year. After, round 19, I think Lee were at 9 points off the playoffs. So Adrian Lamb has done some big feat here.
Yeah,
I spoke to him at the Lance Todd Award when they were well out of the playoffs, and he said, well, I've got a lot of injuries. He said, I think we can give it a good run at the end of the season. Yeah,
and they did. You know, they had a massive injury list, you know, early on in the year, and you know, as them players come back, I think you see the performance go through the roof. You know, you look at likes of Moylan and Lamb, you know, them players who played with expansion, you know, love to play rugby. I think they're a great team to watch, but also physically. And you know, when you talk about the Salford game, the way Salford went about that playoff game, you do expect a bit more movement with the ball. What Salford do best against a team that I think Lee absolutely bullied Saints the week before physically. So why would you play him that way? You know, get into a bash up when, you know, and I think Lee have done excellent, you know, to the back end of the year because they've had both elements. I think they've been physical, but they've also played with some skill.
Well, let's get some reaction from the league camp after that win and hear from Robbie Mulhern.
Robbie, the dream's still alive, 1 win away.
Yeah, what a performance. I think they did to us in that first half what we wanted to do to them. You know, they kept us in our half really well. You know, the defence was outstanding, but we knew they had all that possession and they'd not scored a try. They'd only got 1 penalty, so I think that shows how well we defended them when we had our fair share of the ball in the second half. We showed what we could do.
That second 40 minutes showed why you're in this situation in the first place. It's a real kind of vintage playoff performance, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, definitely. I think we've sort of been in playoff mode for the last 2-3 months. You know, like we needed to win 10 out of 12 to get into the playoffs, and that's what we did. And every game's sort of been a knockout, and we've just took that for us. And you know, just so delighted to get the win.
And it looked like one of the real turning points was in the middle. You guys just started to win the arm wrestle, started to make those few extra meters, shut them down. How tough was it out there today in the centre?
Oh, very tough, you know, but we just kept turning up for each other, we just kept moving, kept his legs turning over, and like, yeah, we got the result.
You're obviously friendly last year, 80 minutes away from Old Trafford. How incredible has this journey been?
It's been unbelievable, yeah. I think from day one of pre-season last year with the squad we had, we knew we could do something special, and a lot of people doubted us, and we've just kept turning up every week, you know. there's such a good connection, such a good brotherhood in this group of boys, and I think that's just showing through now. And to get to Old Trafford, that'd be amazing. Yeah, they're like that every week, regardless of the game. They always come and turn up in massive numbers, and it's something we're really grateful for.
Kevin makes a good point now. Were Lee possibly more battle-hardened because they had to go on this run to get in the playoffs?
I think that's exactly what they
when
are.
Salford basically had a week off, didn't they?
Yeah, they've had a week off, and they've been used to the jeopardy as well. If they lose the game, the season's almost over. They've had that for the last 3 months, so they are dangerous because they're perfectly prepared every week for the next week. The intensity is going to go up, but they've had that jeopardy hanging over them for months now. And
a quick word on Josh Charney, thank God he's all right.
Yeah,
it looks bad at the time.
Well, he scored a great try, didn't he, before, and then he chased the kick, and it was an important bit of play to get Brierley trapped in the in-goal, but unfortunately he trapped his head underneath, and it looked really worrying. And I spoke to his wife after the game. She went to the hospital with him, and luckily he's got the all clear. He's a bit sore, and he'll miss this next game, and hopefully rejoin his teammates in the grand final.
Yes, certainly out for 12 days, so fingers crossed if I do get there, he is fit to play. Right then, so obviously the post-mortem has continued at St Helens, not just about losing on Golden Point, but the whole season, Scully.
Yeah, it's been a disappointing season. I don't think you can gloss over that. To finish sixth and, as you say, go out in the first elimination game. But I think they saved probably the best performance till last. For me, it's a game they should have won. I think the best team lost, and I think they'll look back at that and rue, some of the chances that they blew. Individual mistakes, lapses of indiscipline, which has cost them a place in the semi-final.
But unfortunately, individual mistakes and lack of discipline, that's happened throughout the season, hasn't it?
It has. I think that's been the biggest thing. When the playing staff on that Saints roster, when you look at some of the silly mistakes that they're making week in, week out, and they looked a bit lost for me in defence as well, which is not Saints-like. It was one thing they've always prided themselves on over the last couple of years has been the defensive line, the speed of line, and that has not been there for me, certainly the back end of the year.
Do you back them to get it right on off the pitch for next year?
Yeah, 100%. They're a club that demand success, and there will be a look into what went wrong. There's going to be changes on the playing staff anyway, and I think there's maybe got to be a few more key signings, certainly in key positions, because I think that's something that they've lacked this year.
How do you see Saints, Kev?
I just think they've lost that feeling of invincibility. When they went through that period, it was like when they were poor, or when Saints had an off day, they'd still manage to find.
They still dug themselves out, didn't they?
Yeah, they still played well, and when they didn't have the starting players on, the players came in from the academy and stood up. What I think's probably happened this year is there's been too many times that they've had to rely on the young players, and when they've got the players back together, they've not had that confidence. When they were 2 tries up at the weekend, I expected Saints of old to go after Warrington and really put the foot on the throat, so to speak, but they sort of backed off a little bit and invited Warrington to come back at them. You can't do that with a side like Warrington.
I think you were waiting for that. Me obviously following Saints over the years, when they get 16-4 up, you go, this game's over with. You didn't get that feeling, and it was a kind of hold on to that lead, protect that lead. That's not Saints, is it?
It was a nervy look,
yeah.
And even off the kick-off, Tommy Mixer, I thought he was brilliant, by the way, in his last game. But he looked nervous, and I've never seen him drop a ball off the kick. I've never seen any of the Saints players drop a ball in such a crucial period of the game. And things like that happen when your confidence is low.
Well, Saints can win a trophy in the Women's Super League final, which is on Sunday afternoon, 4:30, live on Sky. It's St Helens versus York, the holders. Let's hear from both camps.
It's been probably the most topsy-turvy Betfred Women's Super League ever, with all the top 4 kind of taking results off each other. I guess that narrows the focus that you're going to have to be at your absolute best against York.
Yeah, definitely. Everybody's going to be at their best if they want to get the result. Like you mentioned, there's a competitive top 4 now, and it's really good for the sport. And you probably can't call it on paper weeks leading up to it, and you've got to be on form on the day, otherwise you're not going to go home with that silverware.
You've so much experience in that squad of playing in these big games. How important is that in a week like this?
Yeah, definitely. You know, you've got to get your arm around some players who might not be as experienced in these moments and these environments. But I think collectively as a group we're quite good at dealing with that pressure, and we all have each other's backs, and we have a great group of backroom staff and coaches and off-field staff that all do absolutely everything they can to make us the best we can be and put us in our best position to perform on the day.
Obviously you've been there and done it in terms of a grand final now. Does that experience kind of give you a little bit of something to kind of refer back to and a little bit of just common ground where you are?
Yeah, no, it does. It really does. The shame probably is the two key factors at the grand final were Tara and Sinead, who obviously won't be there, but they're still in and out around the squad, passing their knowledge on. And yeah, you would hope that there are a number of people within that squad that will know what it takes to grind out a win.
It's been such an unpredictable Betfred Women's Super League season. All the top four have beaten each other throughout. I guess that gives you the confidence that you can go and do it, but I guess there's also an element of maybe nerves that you've got to be right in your mettle as well. Yeah, no, exactly. And you know, Saints have been probably the complete opposite of us. They've had the spine pretty fresh all year, consistency, fluency, and we've been the exact opposite. So you know, they've got a lot behind them going into this, but we will have that willingness to work for each other and that grit that you need to sometimes just grind out a final.
Yeah, live on Sky on Sunday afternoon, it's St Helens versus York Valkyrie. This should be a decent game.
It'll be a cracker. I caught up with a couple of girls the other day, and Kelsey Gentle and Zoe Harris were having a bit of banter, and Kelsey's actually playing on one leg. She's done every ligament in her knee apart from her ACL, so how she's playing in the middle of the field and doing what she's doing. And obviously it's Faye Gaskin's last game as well, so for sentiment reasons they'll all be hoping that they can send her off with a win. But it's the two best sides really getting to the grand final. It's going to be a terrific game. Apparently there's a great crowd already on, and I'm sure that'll swell up till kick-off.
Scully, York are the holders. Saints have not won it since 2021 when they beat Leeds.
Yeah, so they'll be looking to get that title back from York. Obviously there were a lot of players, you know, changing clubs throughout that period, but I think, as you said, the best two sides. I'm really looking forward to a big game. It is literally all on the day. It's on the 80 minutes and anything can happen.
And we warm up on the Sportsman for that. We've got a playoff for you, Keighley versus Hunslet. So we have got a League One playoff final, Keighley versus Hunslet. We'll be on air at 2:45, live and exclusive on the Sportsman. Watch that, and then you can watch the Betfred Women's Grand Final. So that's live and exclusive here on the Sportsman. Right, let's turn our attention to two massive games in the Betfred Super League. Starting on Friday night, Warrington make the trip to Hull KR. Where is this game won or lost?
Good question. I think the only thing I can split the sides is the home advantage. I think it's going to be so close. I think if both teams turn up and play to their absolute best, I think Hull KR just nudge it with their attacking quality. But it wouldn't surprise me if Matt Duffy and George Williams put a clinic on and also took it from Hull KR. It's an incredible matchup. Two great sides who will play really good stuff and had fantastic years. I think the coaches are friends as well, Willie Peters and Sam Burgess. They've both coached together at South, so there's a lot going into this game, and both clubs expect to win too. So it's going to be a classic.
It's actually 2-1 to Warrington this term as well. Warrington won at Hull KR back in March.
Yeah, I don't think that matters one bit for this game. As you say, it's all on the day, you know, and I agree with Kev that home advantage could be the difference. I just think it's going to be interesting to see how the two teams do come out and how they start. You know, obviously Warrington coming on the back of a tough game against Saints, but the battle hardened. Hull KR, you know, having a week off. I think Mincella's a big loss for them as well. I think he's been outstanding this year, and obviously their skipper. You know, he's led from the front. He made the dream team. I think it's going to be a fabulous game.
Two best defences in the league.
Yeah, two best defences, and I'd probably say two of the best attacking sides as well. They're not boring with the ball, but they clearly value defence. I think Sam Burgess has made a statement this year. He's took control of the defence, and Martin Gleeson, his assistant, does the attack. So the last couple of weeks they've only conceded a couple of tries in 4 games. I think they've only conceded 2 tries or 3 tries. In that period, so they've been going great. And if Hull KR are to penetrate that defence, I think it'll be Mikey Lewis and co who can do that. I do think, when I looked at the sides before barring Minchella, Hull KR are pretty set. It's as good as they can put out there. So they're healthy at the right time to try and take on Sam Burgess's defence.
Whatever happens, Sam Burgess has done some job in his first season, hasn't he? Challenge Cup final and now a playoff.
Yeah, he has. He certainly has, and I think you can see the culture change within the club. Sam's presence alone.
It's confidence, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think that'll be his
couple of seasons ago, if it had gone down like that against Saints, it'd have been over.
Yeah, I think his influence on the players who have watched him play. It'll be a hero to the majority of these players. I think just being involved with him. I'll have an influence on the players. They'll want to be at the best because they're playing for Sam Burgess, and I think that'll be his coaching philosophies. It'll be effort-based areas, it'll be defence, and then, as you said, Glees, who's one of the best in the game at attack. And I have to agree with Kev. I think George Williams is playing some of his best rugby of his career, and I think everything that Warrington do right at the moment on attack ultimately goes through George.
I think the confidence as well that Sam's given everyone, I think it's rubbed off on the fans. I think that they're much more confident and they're trusting. When it doesn't go well, they're not turning on him. They know it's going to come right, and that confidence.
That's a big difference. I think,
it's huge. It's huge. I've been at that stadium where they've been behind against Saints and people start, but there were none of that. They all expected the wave, which ultimately happened, of Warrington coming home strong.
How influential could Mikey Lewis be? He needs one appearance to reach 100 for Hull KR.
Yeah, he's outstanding, isn't he? I think everything good about Hull KR this year is Mike has played a massive part of it. I like him. I like a 7 who likes to run. He's a tough little cookie as well. He don't mind the niggle. He puts his face in the frame, and I just think a 7 who is willing to take on a defensive line causes more threats than one who doesn't, and I think Mike has just been outstanding this year. And I think as the season's gone on, and he knows he's the main man in that team, I just think he's grown in confidence.
Prediction, Simon?
I'm very, very on the fence. I'm gonna go Hull KR to sneak it.
Yeah, I think it's a shootout. Whoever plays the best in Mikey Lewis and George Williams, and I just think
George Williams playing so well at the moment as well.
He's just playing so well. He's got that experience. I think Warrington might just nick it.
That's Friday night. Then Saturday night, live on Sky and BBC Two as well. We had record viewing figures on Saturday night. Wigan versus Leigh. Wigan have won their last 15 home meetings with Leigh. Leeds' last away victory was in the Slalom Lager Championship at Central Park on the 28th of August 1983.
Well, none of that matters. none of that matters. It's a great start.
Slalom Lager.
I was trying to think what Slalom Lager was like. I can't remember.
They weren't as good as ABK.
No. ABK's a future.
Free balls on the way for us. No, I mean, obviously Leigh have been in the Championship as well, but yeah, look, Wigan at home.
There's no harder place to go, but I'll double down on what I said before. They are battle-hardened. They've had the best prep. No one wants to go through that prep because there is a real good chance that you lose a couple of games and you don't get to where you are. But once you've survived that period, they've had the best prep to turn up to Wigan confident. They've got all the best players on the field, and there's that confidence, if you could bottle it, it'd be worth millions, wouldn't it? And Adrian Lamb will go there confident, I'm sure. He knows everything about this Wigan side and more.
I think if Leigh are to do anything, I think they've got to come out of the blocks and they've really got to try and upset Wigan. Yeah. I think they've got to be physical.
Massive games for on attack, Lamb and Pape.
Yeah, on attack, don't get away from what they do. Obviously, you've got to earn the right first. With the go forward, but use that width and use that expansion that they've got. But I think physically they've got to get into this Wigan side, and the likes of Field and French, they've got to get hold of them, and they've got to let them know that they've got hold of them as well. Because other than that, I don't see Leigh have got a chance.
They've got to start fast as well, haven't they, Scully? What they can't do is what they did against Salford and just take 40 minutes of pressure, because no disrespect to Salford, with Bevan French and Jay Field in your side, they will post points if you give them so much opportunity. So they need to start quick and probably score first and a couple of times to give them that little bit of confidence to go into the back end of the game.
Where's the game won or lost then?
Well, it's always won or lost in the pack. I think if you're going to beat Wigan, you need to get over the pack. The pack is absolutely massive and very mobile too. It's where Matt Pete's put all his, his recruitment's gone in there. I think young Junior December's just re-signed. He's very confident at the moment, playing well. I think he's got the Player of the Year, Player of the Month again this month at Wigan. So if you're going to beat Wigan, you've got to beat them at the pack first. And I saw last week that Lee should be confident that they can do that, because they got over, after the barrage of a wave of pressure from Salford, they got over them and ultimately went through, and Ipape, he just went straight through the pack at the end of the game. He's awesome.
Come on in.
Wigan. I just can't go against Wigan at home. I just think they're too good. They've rested up. I think
they've been in a training camp to Bath University.
Been and done it. Yeah. They've got the players fit and fit.
They always play well in October.
They do. They've got Matt Pete, the coach. I think he's the best young coach the game's got.
He's done an awesome job.
But Adrian Lammy's a very smart coach, and I think he will have to come up with something a little bit different. But it's if they do somehow manage to win this game, I think give it Adrian Lammy as the coach of the year, because it's such a big challenge.
Not even being nominated.
Give it him next year.
Go on, Scully.
He'll own the borough. I can't see past a Wigan win. I just think we talk about Wigan, throughout the year, but certainly at the back end of the year when the big games come around, and I just think they're so resilient. Speak about Lee, have to be aggressive and on defence and tie up that Wigan attack. But Wigan are always the same on their D. They pride themselves on D. Matty Pete prides himself on defence. But their attacks, pretty hot at the moment as well. And as I said, the pack is on fire. But that League pack is pretty good as well. And if you can get on that front foot and you get a Pape running out of dummy half, they can cause problems.
Should be two cracking games. Right, this time next week we'll know the finalists for the Betfred Grand Final at Old Trafford. We'll also know who's been crowned the women's champion as well. We'll also know who's in the Championship playoffs. We'll also know who's in the League One playoff as well. And we know who's in the wheelchair final as well. That's Halifax and Leeds Rhinos. So good luck to those two teams, which is a week on Sunday. Don't forget, live on this channel Sunday afternoon, Keighley versus Hunslet. There we are. We're on air at 2:45. Lewis taking you through, and then you can watch the women's final live on Sky. So then, happy birthday, Kev, by the way. So you're going for Wigan, Warrington. Yeah,
but I wouldn't be surprised if it was Leo KR, so don't waste all your money.
So you're going for Wigan, Hull KR.
I'm going for Wigan, Hull KR. I think they've been the two best sides, 1 and 2 in the league, showed that. I just think it'd be a grand final that everybody deserves.
Right, enjoy the women's final and enjoy the Betfred playoffs as well. They're going to be two absolute crackers. See you next week when we'll be filming, me and Scully, from Old Trafford, building up to the Betfred Grand Final.